channel. Today I am finally able to do a full review and full 3-day wear test on the new Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. As you know, a couple weeks ago I put up a small video of me testing it out for one day using a sample. I did just a 12-hour wear test because I wasn't able to wear it for longer than that one day because there just wasn't enough in the sample to do 2 days. I'm excited about this foundation. I finally got it yesterday and I just could not wait to wake up this morning and apply this foundation because the first day I wore it, I absolutely loved it. But my fear was I loved it so much that I was really hoping that my opinion wouldn't change the second and third and fourth time I used it. As you guys know, I do like and prefer to test out my foundations for longer than one day because I just feel like I get a little bit more of an accurate perception of the foundation when I wear it more than just that one day. I can't tell you how many times I've tested a foundation that the first time I tried it, I either don't like it or love it, and the next day I have the complete opposite experience with it. Happens all the time. In this review, I'm going to test it with 3 different primers, and I am going to apply a little bit of powders. I'm just going to kind of do like half the face here and half the face there. Kind of mess with this foundation because I want to make sure that this is a foundation that will work with many different primers, many different powders, and really give it a really good test. As you guys know, I am 40 years old. I am dry normal skin type. Right now I'm more normal. Dry is during the winter time. I have hyperpigmentation. I have adult acne. I would say my perfect foundation is radiant, natural, skin-like, blends into my skin. I don't want to look like I have a lot of foundation on. I like to do just a thin, even layer over the face. Let's go ahead and jump into the information about the foundation. I'm not going to give you guys a ton of information because I'm sure you guys have already done a lot of research on this foundation. It is an innovative foundation that is flawless and poreless looking, and it is supposed to be an all-day, weightless, full coverage formula with a natural matte finish. And for those of you who are oily skin, just remember that it is a very natural matte. I don't feel like this is like a perfect fit for those who have oily. I think it's gonna have to be based on an individual thing. You're probably gonna have to pair it with the right primer and the right finishing powder or setting powder to really lock the oils down, because as I wear this throughout the day, it does allow my natural oils to kind of peek through. So just know that. But I do think oily skin can make this work, but I do think you might have to do a little bit of tweaking and, you know, try maybe a few different powders to really lock it down. So this foundation is unique because it contains Charlotte's magic matrix of ingredients, the groundbreaking Magic Replexium, to significantly reduce the appearance of wrinkles by up to 22% after 8 weeks of use. It also has Moss Cell Tech #1 to boost hydration by up to 216% and an air cool property for an instant fresh feel on the skin. So Charlotte Tilbury is the first color cosmetic brand to use the groundbreaking Magic Replexium. And so I'm kind of curious about that as well, because not only is this going to be a nice foundation, but it is claiming to, you know, reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It is supposed to be a sweat-proof, humidity-proof, waterproof, and transfer resistant. So this foundation retails for $44 and it does come in 44 shades. When she created this foundation, Charlotte developed a unique magic beauty skin algorithm through a study on 650 plus women to decode the perfect flawless match of foundation shades that color syncs to the skin. The shades I feel like are a little bit strong, so I chose shade 9 Warm, which was the shade that I used in the sample, and I really thought it matched good, but it's very yellow. It has adapted to my skin. It's very bright and very yellow when I first apply it, but it does warm up to my skin as I, you know, put the rest of my makeup on. But I think I would have probably preferred a 9 Neutral because the actual depth of the shade is perfect. It's the tone that's a little bit off. But in the 9 categories, she only has a cool and a warm. There is no neutral. In shade 8, there's only a cool and a warm. There is no neutral. The closest neutral is in shade 7. And the closest neutral on the darker side is shade 10. But I'm afraid that 10 might be a tad bit too dark. I just don't know. When you're going through to try to find your shade, just know that there are several gaps in between. There should have been a neutral in every category no matter what. but it is what it is. I don't know. But anyways, there's definitely a lot of shade gaps in there. So just be careful when you're ordering your foundation. But it does say on the Charlotte Tilbury website that if you order this from her website and you don't get the right shade, you can email them immediately and they will work with you to help you find your right shade and return it. So I've never had a bad experience with customer service at Charlotte Tilbury. I've heard a few people kind of mention that they have. I've contacted Charlotte Tilbury's customer service several times because I've ordered from them several times and I've never had a problem. Ever, ever, ever. They actually go over and beyond to help me. So just know that if you ordered this foundation during the pre-launch or now that it's launched and you feel like your shade is a little bit off, don't keep it. If you feel like it's off, find your right shade because it's a $44 foundation. Now, I also ordered this. This is called the Magic Vanish. It is a under eye and face cheat for intense color correction. I got this in shade 2 medium and it's kind of like a peachy tone, but it's kind of like a thicker waxy formula. And you apply it underneath the eye. You can, just to kind of get rid of those dark circles. And I show you how I personally apply it. Now, today I decided to wear it on one side of my face. So before we jump into the application and you get to see which side I applied it, I'm wondering which side you guys think I have this on. So either this side or this side, because I only applied it under one eye because I wanted to see if it really made that much of a difference underneath my concealer, because that's kind of what we want to know, right? Today I actually used it with my Tarte Creases concealer. Tomorrow I'm going to try it with a lighter coverage because the Tarte Creases is a full coverage concealer. So tomorrow I'm going to apply it with my Becca Aqua Luminous Perfecting Concealer. This one is more of like a light medium kind of coverage situation. So I am going to really put it to the test to see if it does actually make that much of a difference. So without further ado, let's jump right into the application. I'm going to come back and do a 6-hour check-in, and then after wearing it for the full 3 days, I will come back and give you guys my full final thoughts. So I will see you guys then. So the day has arrived. I finally have this foundation in my hands and I am so excited. Let me just say this. This bottle is the prettiest foundation bottle I have. So as per usual, I'm gonna do it like I would if I was trying it for the first time, even though this is technically the second time I've tried it. So I'm gonna apply half of the face with a brush and half the face with a sponge. So that's one full pump. And I'm gonna try to allow that to use all over my face, but I do know with using the sponge is going to absorb a lot of it. But I'm just gonna try to make it last. It blends out so fast. I mean, like so fast. Now, when I first put this on, it does look very yellow and very warm. And that is the thing that I'm noticing a lot with the feedback on the foundation is that the shade range and the undertones are really strong. And that is one thing that I'm noticing. It looks so flawless and you only need one pump. I mean, it's just like one pump, it works. Like I still have all of this over here on this side. So this is going to go a really long way. That makes it a little bit better, like more cost efficient because you're not going through it as much. So I'm gonna go ahead and go down into this on the sponge and start applying some of this on this side. Still using the one pump. I kind of thought that maybe the sponge might absorb this because it is kind of a liquidy product. It's not like overly liquidy, but it is. It's got a liquid texture to it. But I'm making one pump work. Like, I don't know that I'm gonna have to do 2 pumps, which is really good. I look so yellow in the monitor. But as you know, we all apply our foundations very different. And, I'm somebody that, I used to apply a lot of foundation and I've kind of moved away from doing that because it feels like my foundation just looks so much better when I only apply like one pump. It's just, I can't use a lot of foundation. And so I know that we all have our own different techniques and, some people like to use 2 or 3 pumps. And, I understand that because I used to be one of them, but it just looks so much more seamless and so much better by using one pump. However, on this foundation in particular, even if you are somebody that likes to use more pumps, I don't recommend doing that with this one because I don't think you need to. It spreads really good and it gives you really nice coverage without needing to pack a bunch of this on. It's very thin, very lightweight, and you just don't need to. My skin is already starting to kind of warm up to it. See how it's starting to change? It's not as yellow as it was when I first applied it, and it's good. It's just getting better and better and matching my skin more and more as it settles into the skin. Next up, I'm gonna go in with this. So this is the Magic, I cannot remember what this is called, the Magic Vanish. And it is a nice creamy product, but it's kind of a stiff product. So it's not overly creamy, like you kind of have to, it's a little bit on the waxy side. Not necessarily like overly waxy, but kind of. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of this. I don't know that you have to use a lot to make this work. It's very lightweight. I mean, very lightweight. And it looks really peachy when you first apply it. I'm going to use a brush on the other side and see if the brush applies it differently than a finger. So I'm just going to use the tip of my Heavenly Luxe number 7 and just apply a thin layer. I don't feel like this is a product that you're going to want to use a lot of because I really don't think you need a lot of it. The brush, I kind of prefer my finger with this, you guys. I got a more smooth application than I did with a brush. This is kind of a waxy texture, and so I feel like the warmth of the finger kind of melts it into the skin more so than a brush. That definitely got rid of some of those dark circles. And it is very lightweight, like you can barely see it. It's just barely there. So I'm just gonna put on a little bit of my Tarte Creaseless. I probably should have done like one side without this product and one side with. I think that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna take my makeup wipe and I'm gonna try to like wipe this off. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of that concealer on. So then I can test that, you know, one with and one without and just see if it makes that big of a difference as far as just, you know, does it affect my concealer? Does it last throughout the day? Does it allow me to have more coverage throughout the day? Like those are all the things that I'm gonna be looking for. Doing kind of like side-by-side comparisons on this, and it's full coverage. And I normally, you guys know, I don't typically wear a full coverage. I normally like just a good medium coverage, but this is such a good full coverage, flawless. I am so impressed. Okay, so I don't know that I'm seeing much of a difference on this side versus this side when it comes to my concealer. So this is what it's looking like. And it's flawless. Absolutely flawless. I am obsessed with this foundation. I'm absolutely obsessed. Okay, let's turn off the ring light. Yes, I'm looking a little shiny right here, and that's because of my concealer. So normally when I'm doing these close-ups after I apply foundation, I don't have my concealer on. Shininess will kind of go down a little bit, especially once I add a little bit of the Airbrush Flawless Finishing Powder. This is stunning. It's not cakey, it's not built up in any places. It lays beautifully over my wrinkles. It doesn't exaggerate any of the creepy skin I have here. It blends into the skin, it's full coverage. This is flawless. I'm obsessed. I've never wanted to buy a full coverage foundation and wear it on a daily because it just never looks good. It just always looks heavy and always looks cakey. This is absolutely stunning. I mean, I love this. Oh my gosh, I love this so much. So far, you guys know I love it. So I will see you guys in my first check-in. Okay, I am back for a midday check-in. So it's almost 6 o'clock. So I think I applied this, you guys, right around like 9:30-ish. It's creasing a tiny bit like around my chin. I'm not so sure what's going on around my chin. I'm not not so sure what's going on around my chin. I've got these little tiny like hair-like lines. They're just like tiny little, I don't know. I don't remember that happening the first time that I wore it, but I'm going to keep my eye on that. Maybe I applied it just a tad bit too heavy in that area today. I don't know what this is, but let's go ahead and pull you guys in so maybe you guys can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I don't know if it's showing up, but I got these little tiny little hairlines. I don't know if it's showing up or not. Is it? Maybe. But look how beautiful it looks everywhere else. Like, I'm gonna have to figure out why it's doing that, but it looks so beautiful everywhere else. Let's turn off the ring light. Okay, so I've shut off the ring light. This is just more natural lighting. I'm sitting in front of a window, not direct sunlight, and have the two umbrella lights sitting in the corner, and then just obviously the room light. But this looks so beautiful. I just love the way my skin looks with this on. It is absolutely beautiful. Like, I don't know that this is going to be like my everyday foundation because it is such a full coverage, but my gosh, it's pretty. Like, it's starting to crease a little bit, and I think tomorrow I'll be very mindful of that and maybe not apply as much in this area. Maybe I got a little bit too heavy on the chin, which might be the reason why this is happening. So I will let you guys know if that changes so that we know that this is not a foundation that you want to get too heavy in the application. But other than that, that's the only thing that I'm seeing that's kind of funky. You know, here we are, what, 8 hours later? I think it looks beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I don't feel like it's changed much since I first applied it. I feel like it looks the same and it feels the same, and it's a very comfortable foundation. I don't feel like I have anything on, which is nice, and I'm not feeling tacky. Now tomorrow I'm going to be wearing this all day out in the weather. We're actually going to buy my daughter's car tomorrow, and so I'm sure we're going to be, you know, in and out of that hot dealership, and so I will definitely be putting it to the test as far as like heat goes, and if it holds up with the heat and stuff. Today I was kind of in and out of my car in the AC, so I wouldn't say that that was like testing it in heat, but you know how it is walking around a dealership lot looking at all the cars and doing all that, like that can, you know, I'm probably gonna get pretty hot. So I will definitely let you guys know how it wears then, but so far this looks so pretty. I love it so much. And I will see you guys on Sunday evening for my final thoughts. Okay everyone, I am back for my final thoughts on the foundation. So I wore it Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. It is currently almost 11, so I applied this probably around 9:30 this morning. Let me go ahead and pull you guys in so you guys can see what this is looking like, you know what, like 12, almost 13 hours later, and then I will get into my final thoughts on it. Okay, let's turn off the ring light. Okay everyone, I kind of wanted to pop on here. I was editing my video and I was editing my final thoughts, and I just don't feel like I was going through the footage and I was like, Terry, you just were not like getting to the point. Like, it was really late at night when I filmed that and I was exhausted, and so I had been up real early that morning and I just don't feel like my thoughts were projected very well. So I wanted to pop on here, this is Editing Tara, and kind of go through it. And the other thing that I forgot to do was talk about the Magic Vanish. And I was like, I can't put this video up without talking about that. Like, how dumb am I? Okay, so my final thoughts on the foundation. You know, I love this foundation. There are some things that you do have to tweak. So let me go through a few of the negatives before I get into all the positives. The negatives are, number one, This you do have to be careful with the way that you apply it on wrinkles. So the first day I wore it, I did apply it a little bit too heavy through here, and my solution the very next day was to take a sponge that was damp and a part of the sponge that didn't have any foundation on it and go over that and pick up any of the extra product that might be sitting on my wrinkles, because this can get a little bit on the creasy side, which I was really surprised by that. Just because normally when I have a foundation that's going to crease, it's because it's a thicker foundation. This one is a very thin formula as far as the way that it applies. It can settle into the creases and the fine lines. So if that is something that, you know, you're concerned with, let's just say that you bought the foundation and you're struggling with it creasing on you, take a portion of the damp sponge, go over it that doesn't have any product on it, and it will pick it up, and you'll see that it will look so much better throughout the day. Number two, I do feel like the shades are off. I feel like the shades are a little wonky. I wish that the undertones were not as strong. So I have messaged Charlotte Tilbury, and I talked to a consultant today, and she suggested that I try 10 neutral, which I'm a little bit worried about because it is going into, you know, I'm getting out of summer now, but I don't know that I want to go all the way down to 7 neutral, because she actually thinks that 7 neutral might be a little bit too light for my skin. I'll just kind of have to play around with it. I'm bound and determined to find my right shade with this. Number three, those who have combo and oily skin are going to have to be pretty careful with this one. I think you're going to buy it thinking that it's a matte foundation, and it's not a matte. In my opinion, it's a very soft matte finish. In fact, throughout the day, my oils really come through. As you saw in the 12-hour footage, you could see my oils really coming through. So in my personal opinion, if you bought this foundation and you're struggling with it just getting too dewy by the end of the day, I love it with the Hourglass setting powder. It is gorgeous, and it even makes it last longer when I set it down with just a tiny bit of powder. It's just beautiful. The first day I applied it, I wore the Bobbi Brown all over the face. The second day I put the Tatcha Silk Canvas on one side, and then on the other side I used the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Face Primer. The only reason why I used this one is because this one kind of sets down. The Tatcha Silk Canvas almost becomes a very like silky-like texture. It worked with all three primers. I actually personally like it with the Tatcha Silk Canvas. So the last day that I wore it, I put the Bobbi Brown all over the perimeter of my face, and then I put the Tatcha Silk Canvas right in this area, in like the T-zone area. Then I went in with the foundation, and then I went in with a light layer of powder, and I did do just a tiny bit of this powder just right here in that T-zone area like I do every day. It was the perfect foundation at that moment. Like all four of those together was like the perfect combo. It was just beautiful, and it lasted for so long, and it looked so flawless, and I was in love with it. Now the thing about this foundation is I am more of a medium coverage kind of girl. So this is going to be a foundation that I'm going to wear on those days where I want a full coverage. And whether I'm going to be taking pictures, going to a party, you know, going to dinner, whatever it is, when I want my skin to just be flawless, this is the one that I'm going to pick. I don't know that I want to wear a full coverage every single day. And I think it's just because, like right now I'm wearing a BB cream. Today is just kind of like my off day. Sometimes I'm okay with my natural features coming through and allowing my hyperpigmentation and my dark spots to just be what they are. I'm totally fine with that. So this is not going to be like an everyday foundation for me. Now, if I was somebody that worked in like a professional environment, I would wear this every day. I am so happy I have it in my collection. I absolutely love it. I do feel like you do need to tweak this. I've heard a few people mention that it exaggerated their pores. If you bought this foundation and you want to try to make it work, I recommend a pore filling primer. Once you fill in your pores with some kind of pore filling primer and then put this over top, it's flawless. Now, I love this foundation, but I don't feel like it's going to be for everyone. I feel like the perfect skin types for this is dry, normal, and combo. Oily is going to be iffy, and like I mentioned earlier in the video, Oily is going to be, you're going to need the right primer and the right powder. I don't think you're going to be able to wear this foundation on its own and expect it to be beautiful and last for several hours, because I think if you're oily, this will break away from your skin. You will have that issue with this. So just be mindful of that, that if you are oily, you're going to need to treat it like you would any type of a satin matte finish instead of a traditional matte finish. I love it though. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and definitely out of all three of her foundations now, this is my favorite. And I love the Light Wonder. Magic Foundation was not my favorite. I do not like that foundation at all. The Light Wonder is great for those days where I want a light coverage. This is now my new favorite full coverage foundation. And this is going to be what I wear when I need my skin to look beautiful. Now, as far as this goes, I kind of feel like this is a hit and miss with me. It's got a little bit of a grip to it, and so when you put your finger in it, it kind of grips. The warmth of your hands will just melt it right into your skin. So I don't recommend applying this with anything else but your finger, to be honest. The sponge is probably really not going to work with this one. Brush, because it's got that waxy texture, you can see like the brush strokes. So the warmth of your finger works best. Here's the thing about this product. It goes on peachy, and it does kind of brighten the area. It only takes a tiny little bit. Like you can see that just really brightened up that under eye. I kind of feel like when I wore it with my Tarte Creaseless, I felt like it was pointless, to be honest, because my Tarte Creaseless is such a full coverage concealer that it did not make a difference. So if you wear a full coverage concealer, I don't really think you need this. I think this is only necessary for those who have really, really dark circles. So if dark circles is one of your biggest issues, and even though you have a full coverage concealer, it just doesn't do the job, this will help. It really is pigmented, and when you put your concealer over it, it just melts right into your skin. You can see the difference. I need to make this other side equal, right? So if you're like me and you don't really have really dark circles, I don't really think this is necessary. I think this is just a good product for those that do have a darker under eye. But let's just say that you don't like full coverage concealers. Let's just say that you wear a BB cream or a tinted moisturizer and you like a light to medium coverage concealer. You don't like a full coverage because it's just too much and doesn't really work with a tinted moisturizer type of deal. That's when this would come in handy, because it does take away that darkness and brightens it up. And then when you go over top of it with the color of concealer that matches your skin tone, or maybe a shade or two lighter, it just blends right in. The thing that I will say is this didn't cause my concealer to crease any more or any less, but it is very effective when it comes to covering up those dark circles. So I don't feel like this product is necessary for every single person. You need to be a person that needs this product to make it worth the purchase. That is my final thoughts on this foundation. If you guys bought this foundation, let us know in the comments down below how it's working for you. What kind of skin type do you have? Have you been able to kind of tweak it to make it work? Let us know in the comments down below. I love you all so much, and I will see you guys in my next video. Love you. Bye.